There it goes. How you doing? Hello. This is Scotty the Trucker again. Months later from my other quirky video that I put, I'm still the same guy. I don't know why I'm trying to act like, no, I'm different now. I'm the same, but only different. This time thing is, it's quite strange, and the older I get, I start to realize there is no time, and we're just gonna go and come back and flow, and whatever the hell happens, I don't know. I have no control over it, and I don't really want to have any. I was just looking on Gab, and they put up the video of me from before, when I was, I think it was in the middle of the summer, and I was a little bit chunkier. For some reason, I'm losing weight now. I'm working on my health because I don't know. Guess I want to make it to 100. I don't really care. I don't even realize I'm this age, and I still feel like I'm a wee laddie and running down the street in my neighborhood, It's funny how that goes. All right. Just talking about stuff. I was off the road for a little bit, and not to my doings, but it's something to do with I guess the pretty much they're keeping an eye on me with the AI cameras and everything, and I don't know what I'm doing. I actually know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for 41 years, but I guess they have to teach me how to do it, I guess. I don't know. But, I don't really give a shit, 41 years, 4 million miles, no tickets, no accidents. I think I might know what I know how to do, or know what I'm doing, I guess, My brains are a little scrambled from all them miles, and right now I'm at the end of a 3,000 mile week, and we've had we had a little winter earlier this week, and it was pretty treacherous. It was, I described them as snow bombs coming out of the sky, pouncing on me to the point where I literally had to stop in a road and try to figure out where the hell I'm at, But, what I've always learned in driving in conditions like that was to try not to stop your momentum, because if you do, you're stuck, So I wouldn't, even though I would slow down to a point where where the hell am I? And then I would look and see there's a marker. So okay, I'm still on the road, and my windshield wipers were like the size of bowling pins, from the ice and everything, and the wind was blowing at like 70 miles an hour, and there was literally snowdrift caverns, and I was driving down the center of it. And this is basically on the highway here in Vermont between Burlington and White River Junction. It's about an 80-mile section, but it's going across the top is what we call it. And the top is always something that nobody wants to go on, especially other truck drivers. But since I have to go from there to there, I have to go across the top, and I know what I'm doing, and the funny part is I have phone calls coming to me, and you know, from the younger drivers, 30 years younger than me. This one kid, a veteran, Iraq veteran, who's a nice kid, you know, he's a good kid. He doesn't drink or smoke or do anything. He just, you know, he just trying to keep his life together. And I know he has some issues from, you know, being knocked off his bunk from bombs and stuff like that. So, you know, I think I would have that too, you know. And but he likes talking to me because I'm like a wise old character that gives him information that he follows and does and realizes, holy crap, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. But he called me, and what do I do? You know, this is, you know, pretty wild out here. I keep going, buddy, keep going, keep going. You know, don't stop, don't get stuck, you know. And the crazy part is there's people still out there in their cars and they're stopped in the middle of the road and the car is like covered and they're standing out there. I'm like, what are you, insane? You know, what are you doing out here at 3 o'clock in the morning, 70-mile-an-hour winds and blasting, blinding snow, you know, and people are still out there. It's unbelievable. But I ratified, I figured out that situation I had with them and how, you know, they brought me in and talked to me about it and stuff. And I said, look, man, I am what I am. I've been doing it for so long. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You know, oh, we saw you on camera and you're doing this and that, so we have to reprimand you. Listen, man, I'm going to keep being me and keep doing what I'm doing. So if you don't like it, I'll have to do it somewhere else then. Oh, no, we like what you're doing. Just keep doing it, you know. You know, it seems like we've had a dozen drivers and now we're down to about 7 because people just don't want to come into work when they're really sick from, you know, an induced sickness, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, it has nothing to do with that one where they doing all these tests with that meant nothing. This is the one where they put it in them to be sick. And they didn't realize, you know, because they were, you know, deceived by this television or whatever, you know, you know, I don't really do television or radio or anything, you know, I like to read books like my wife's book, you know, she's got a couple of books here, but I'm not here to sell books, but this is her latest one, Time to Remember. You know, it's about Atlantis, and the one that she first did was about us being on the highway. But the reason I'm doing this video is because they talked about Paul Sealing. There's the Book of Truth and a book of love and creation. I read every one of these books. I don't know why, but I don't know why. I'm not much of a reader. But when I picked this book up, I couldn't put it down until it was done. It was the strangest thing that ever happened to me. And then I went through every one of them like they were nothing. And I'm not much of a reader. Here's this latest one, Paul Sealing, Resurrection. But I haven't read this one yet. And I think I might now that, you know, all this is coming up. You know, I kind of went into a little mind dormant for a while there. You know, I've been doing that through my life. You know, I get going and going and going, and, you know, everything's really cool and going fast. And then all of a sudden I just go into this dormant of, like, I'm not doing anything and I'm just being me and having a life. But the thing is, I'm always working. I'm working a lot, and I've always worked a lot. I worked since I was like 10, you know, mowing lawns, and I was a golf caddy, and, you know, I helped my my grandfather was a greenhouse builder, and I'd like to work, you know, I was playing with all the guys and stuff. I was wee Scotty, and they were all Scotsmen. You know, my grandfather was he built greenhouses, and he was built for. You know, I hate to admit this. He built for the Rockefellers up in upstate New York. He built greenhouses for them, and he built the Doris Duke Estates when there were the original ones, the greenhouses. If you go online and look up Doris Duke Estates, you'll see the greenhouses, these big giant greenhouses. He always, what he did was he sponsored Scotties that came over from Scotland, and they built apartment buildings, and he rented them out to them. My grandfather was a really, really powerful entrepreneur, and you know, he did stuff like that, and he was a tough guy, you know, and he was a Scotsman, you know, and I was around him a lot when I was a wee lad and playing golf. He taught me golf, and you know, taught me how to, like, around the business and stuff, but I never picked that up. I don't know. You know, I guess everybody has a purpose in life and a way in life that they do. And I was a traveler. You know, I don't know why. I just started traveling at a young age. Because I'll tell you why. I was the youngest of 6 boys, and my grandparents literally brought me up. I lived across the street in New Jersey, Kearney, New Jersey, and on a street. And my grandparents lived across the street, and I was the 6th boy, and my mom got sick when I was born. So my grandparents literally brought me up for the first year, and I was like their love, Scotty. You know, they were from Scotland. Everybody, their aunts, uncles, everybody was from Scotland. And I lived in a really ethnic street with Polish and Italian and Irish and, you know, in New Jersey. I mean, a real melting pot town in Kearney, New Jersey. And but we had Scottish fish and chips and meat pies and everything like that up in town, and bakeries, you know, where they did the cookies and stuff. I mean, I remember that when I was a wee lad. And but to get to the story of traveling, my grandparents, they wanted me down there in Florida, you know, because they had a condo in Florida in a place called Holiday City in Florida near Clearwater. And they wanted me down there, so they used to, they pay for the plane flight. My parents would take me to the airport, Newark Airport, and I'd be in a little suit and tie, and they'd put a note on my jacket saying, make sure this little boy gets to Tampa. And I'd get on the plane, and Eastern Airlines in Newark, New Jersey. We're talking about 1965 or 66, and I'd be in coach, you know, sitting in the back there, and the stewardesses would come along, and they'd see me, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, look how cute this little boy is," and they would grab me and bring me up to first class and sit me down and get me extra almonds and soda pops and stuff. And actually they would, you know, this is 65. The door would be open for the cockpit, and I'd be like, whoa, look at that, you know. And I literally remember being escorted into the cockpit and sit down in the seat next to the pilot, and I would be like, wow, looking out the window and everything. And I mean, I could feel it now, just thinking about it, how fascinating that was. And then they'd bring me back. The pilots would give me a set of wings because I was an official pilot, you know. And, you know, I was just one of these boys back then, that wee lad boy with red hair and freckles that everybody loved. And, you know, oh, let's bring this kid along, you know, let's show him, you know. And I was always the youngest of everybody, you know, and I guess now at 61, I'm the wisest of everybody because of that. I don't have any education. I barely made it out of high school, and actually I went to like several high schools, and but that was an education in itself, and got my believe me, hard knocks and travels and everything like that, and so my grandparents used to fly me back and forth on Eastern Airlines to Florida, and I'd go golfing with my grandfather, and you know, they took me to Witchy Wacky or whatever, Wiki Wacky, where the mermaids were, and I gotta tell you a funny story. It was not too long ago. I can't remember when it was. It was probably 15, 20 years ago. I was at this seminar, which I was working, I was part of a crew there. And we were at the door, and this woman came in, and for some reason she looked so familiar to me, and she looked at me, and I said hi, and she hugged me and everything. We were all familiar and everything. And this was in Florida. This was in, I think, on the Miami side or whatever. I think we're in Miami no, we were in Sarasota. That's what it was, Sarasota, Florida. And this older woman, beautiful woman, black hair, and she had a good shape, like she worked out or whatever. And I was talking to her and everything, and I said, I used to come to Florida all the time when I was a little boy, and my grandparents used to take me to Witchy Watchy and Wiki Wacky. And she said, I was a mermaid at Wiki Wacky. And I said, no way. And she said, yes. And I said, I think I seen you there. And she's like, when was it? And I said, I don't know. It was probably 65, 66, 67. She goes, that's when I was there. And I was like, oh my God, I know you. And we were like hugging and everything, and that's funny how life just goes by, and you just bump into people and situations, and it's like, oh my God, I was there, one of those deals, and so my travels from Florida took me, I drove around with my grandfather's work crew in the big trucks. They were Scotsmen, always smoking and drinking beer, and a rowdy bunch of ruffians. And I was in the middle of wee Scotty. I was always around, and I was, because my grandfather's was the owner of the company, they treated me with great respect, and they didn't really get out of hand because I was around. But and I remember my uncle. I'll tell you the story of my first driving experience. My uncle, I was around 11 or something, or 12 years old, and I was in the city in New Jersey, so I was getting my wild oats. I'd be out there on the street, I'd try to act like everybody else, with my sleeves rolled up, like standing on the corner, like I'm gonna have a fight, and had cigarettes rolled up in my sleeve, like I'm gonna smoke them. I never smoked. I'd smoke them, I'd get sick, and my uncle, he saw me out there on the streets, and actually the first time I was on the streets out there like that, 12 years old, the cops came by, and they were looking everybody over, and they seen me, and they're like, they stopped, and they grabbed me, and they said, get in the car, and they were all rough with me, and I'm like, what did I do? And they're like, no, get in the car, and I'm like, all right, and I got in the car, and they're like, what are you doing out here? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I said, I'm just trying to hang out with everybody. And they're like, well, you can't be out here at this time. And they drove me right to my grandfather's house. And they got out of the car, and they came around, they opened the door, and I got out of the car, And I looked up, and there's my grandfather and grandmother sitting on the stoop up there in the house, because everybody did that. They sat on the stoops, in the summer outside, and smoking cigarettes or whatever. And there's the cops getting me out of the car and handing me off to my grandparents. My grandparents are like, "What? What's going on down there?" And the cop went up to my grandfather, and he talked to him for about a minute, and he came back and he said, "All right, now you stay off the streets." And I went back up to my grandfather, and he didn't say much to me, and everything. But come to find out later, all these cops worked for my grandfather at one time. So he was like, my grandfather was like the guy in town that, and they knew who I was. I guess they recognized me because I was walking with my grandfather all the time or whatever, because, it's the town. And so they kind of saved me from trouble, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't even getting in trouble. But, of course, because I wouldn't stop, I'd go back, and I ended up on the street again. And my uncle used to see me, and he'd come by, and he'd pick me up, and he'd like, "Hey, come on, get in the truck." He had a big work van, and I'd get in the truck, and all that work equipment and everything in there and everything, and it was a big old Conaline van with 3-speed on the column, big old thing, and he would just throw me in a truck and take me down to the shop that my grandfather had down the street, and we'd sit there, and he'd have me help him unload and load back up the, basically they were getting me off the street to get me out of trouble. But my uncle kept doing that. He kept coming by and grabbing me and picked me up, and he picked up this job because he had a friend in Pennsylvania to build a slaughterhouse and other barns and everything, because he was on a farm. Big Polish guy named Teddy Wittick with big giant eyebrows, and his hands were massive. They had like knots on top of them from shoveling shit all day. This guy was a scary guy, big Polish guy, And my uncle used to pick me up, and my nephew and my niece, his kids, and we'd all pile in that van, and we'd go up to Pennsylvania, and we'd stay on the farm for the weekend, getting out of the city. This was in the summertime, Pennsylvania. It was about an hour and a half drive, up to near Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I remember that well. And but the thing is, my uncle, being a Scotsman, he was a part of the ruffian work crew. His knuckles are busted, and he worked hard and got in fights and everything. And he used to come and pick me up, and then we'd go to the house, and he'd get my niece, my cousins, and then we'd go to the farm. But the thing is, my uncle, after work, because he was a construction worker and a hard worker, they'd be up at dawn and work till they were, they figured if it was time to go, and then they'd start drinking beer, always drinking beer and smoking their Lucky Strike cigarettes with the no filters, and ended up picking us up, but he had too many in him. My uncle was a big drinker, and as most Scotties are, and we'd get in the van. I'm like 12, and my cousin is like 9, and then she's like 7. We'd be in this work van with all the shit in it, and we'd be going to Pennsylvania to the work. It got to be like a weekend thing, and a couple times he was just too drunk to drive with us. I hate this shit, But we'd get in that van, and it's 3-speed on the car, just trying to get going and everything. And then we'd get to a point on the highway where he'd pull over on the rest area shoulder, and he'd like take a leak because he's drinking beer all the time, and he'd pass out. Like, and we're like sitting there like, what the hell we do? You know, what the hell we do? And it got to the point where we were like, let's get him off the seat. So we got him off the seat of the driver's seat and put him in the back, and, you know, with like cushions. And I got behind the wheel. And 12-year-old, you know, in this 3-speed Colline van with the steering all, you know, screwy, off to Pennsylvania. And I knew how to get there, and I knew the road, and I figured out the truck, and I did the driving. And next, you know, we'd get to the farm, and we'd get out of the truck and just leave our uncle in there, you know, the uncle, and we'd go inside the house, and hey, and we'd like go to sleep and wake up the next day to he'd be coming out of the van like, oh, what the hell, how did we get here? Oh my God. Well, when he figured it out, he decided to use that as, you know, an advantage. And next you know, Scotty, take the wheel, you know, and I did. And I'd have to say that was probably the first, my experience of driving, you know, at 12, you know, and it's funny because, you know, back then there's nobody pulling you over, checking you out, and it was wide open, you know, and you know, people drank with beers between their legs all the time. My brother, I remember my brother up until, you know, he died, he would always do that, you know, and right, Odin? There's Odin back there, but he's wondering what's going on. He's looking at me, but it sounds like he's got to go potty. Hold on a second. I'm gonna let him out to go potty. Oh, okay, buddy. Get out there, go potty. He's got to go potty. So I'm just letting you know, everything's good. I'm back on the road. I'm rolling. You know, I had to have a conversation with these people half my age about, you know, my, you know, obedience or whatever. I don't know. And that, you know, when it come down to it, they all realized they're dealing with the wise old man of the sea. And they maybe they should just listen to him and just forget about all the other bullshit and let him go, you know. And you know, well, before then and now they call me every now and then and say, hey, what do you think about should we do it this way? You know, and I tell them, yeah, well, maybe you should this, you know, and they do it that way. Next thing to be like, oh, what a great idea we had, you know. So, but I don't care. At least it benefited me somehow, some way, and it's all good. But I just have to tell you, I appreciate you guys asking for a video and loving me, and you know, me showing you Paul Selig, the Book of Truth, and my wife's book. Oh, here's my wife's book, Time to Remember. I think you can get this on Amazon. Time to Remember. Sandy Phillips Myler. Yeah, that's her last name. Oh, God. But, yeah, I'll try to do more of these. You know, I'm just so damn tired all the time, you know. I come home and on the weekend when I'm off, I've been working 6 days a week. We had a dozen drivers, now we're down to 7. And they're begging me to work, and I'm like, I'm tired. Here's a shitload of money. And I'm like, well, you know, sometimes I can't turn it down, and I do it anyway because, you know, just to keep things going here. You know, let's hope it keeps going. You know, I pray to God every day that it does. And, you know, I do my, I write my intentions, and then I go out and I ground myself with some sun in my face. When there's sun, hopefully I get the sun. And then I go and I sit and I pray and, you know, meditate and visualize, and, you know, and then I feel like and then I have a little exercise bike and a trampoline I get on, you know, because I want to keep myself going. You know, I used to be in great shape at one time, but I guess, you know, you got to keep the wheels rolling here somehow by, you know, bouncing them around a little bit. You know, I just want to tell you how much I love and appreciate you and everybody, Tyler and Douglas and Big John, and that whole gang there. You know, I appreciate them so much. And I'm over here in, you know, the belly of the beast, whatever. I don't think it is. I mean, there's a lot of people in this area that are they're old farmer people. You know, they live on the land, and you know, they're good people. They're hardworking people. And, you know, we got chickens. I live right across the street. There's an organic farm right across the street. People around me have chickens. You know, I mean, there's cow milk farms everywhere. I buy milk from a little shed, you know, and you just put a couple bucks and I get milk in there. You know, Vermont, at one time, the cows outpopulated the humans here, but there's still farms and cows and you know, everything I get and eat is from here. You know, and I got a well in the backyard that's really good water. And, you know, of course I got filters and stuff, you know, and, you know, we got woods, we walk the dog, and every now and then you see a bear and, you know, coyotes and wild turkeys and raccoons, and, you know, and, oh, there's my big dog. Hold on a second. Come on, buddy. Oh! Oh, the cat's trying to get it. Odin! Come on, buddy, come on. Don't want him to get out there. He'll chase a deer, you know, or a raccoon or something, you know. And he's all black and he's pretty big, and I don't want him getting shot. A lot of people got weapons around here, you know, and they use him. They'll use him. And especially if they think he's a bear going after their chickens or something, I don't know. But I'm fenced off. I fenced it off, but the fence is not great. You know, I mean, he can literally jump over if he wants. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think he will. You know, but you know, and then I got I got my kitty cats here, and you know, we live a pretty wholesome, easy, loving life of peace and joy and hard work and good food and good water and peacefulness. You know, we have a television, but we barely use it. You know, and I'm on that computer too much, my wife says. You know, but I don't know. She'd rather have me just read all day, you know, and I think that's probably a good idea. But when I'm driving, I love listening to a lot of stuff, videos, YouTube, everything. That's how I've gotten so up to spec on everything, you know. I send a lot of stuff to people I know and love, family and everything, and before this whole bullshit started, I started telling them, no, don't do this, don't do that, you know, and they, you know, most of them didn't listen to me. You know, I just have to love and appreciate them for the journey that they're on. You know, and then I think to myself, boy, you're a smart bugger, you know, you didn't follow that stuff or do that stuff, or, you know, and you always stand your ground on stuff. And, you know, when I go to the market and gas stations and stuff, and even when I see a policeman or something, I'll go up and talk to him. And, you know, I won't come right out and like a crazy man and tell them everything that's going on. I'll just hint to see where their position is, and then I'll like, the position might get a little faster or slower, and then I'll just like, oh, okay, bye, you know, and that's with anybody. And but sometimes when I'm in the market or whatever, and I see stuff I don't appreciate, and I notice that there's some people that are asleep or woke or normie or whatever the hell you want to call it, and then I see some people that aren't, and I feel like I got myself a little audience, I'll say things out loud, in a weird, precarious way, like, so they hear it, everybody hears it, even though they're looking at me like, what is this crazy guy saying? But I know that I have an impression on them, and it makes them go home and think, this big old crazy guy said something funny at the store. Well, then you must have heard it, and it's in there somewhere, and keep thinking about it, because, it could help you eventually, maybe. Okay, that's it. That's my little spiel for today, and I really appreciate you all and love you all, and I'm not talking about the rooster, which is a chicken, and crazy wacky shit, but I'm here, and I'm hoping I'm here, until I'm there, wherever there, here or there, wherever we were, wherever, we'll be there someday, and I'm sure we'll be back, and I figure while I'm here, I might as well start talking, I guess, let you know, who I might be or what I might be doing or whatever, which seems strange to me because I don't really give a damn about where I'm going or what I'm doing, but other people might, because maybe I have something to offer, some words of wisdom, whatnot, But I did tell you at the beginning of my driving, and I got more stories about that, how my brother, the way he taught me how to drive a truck, and it wasn't conventional. It was basically like throwing you in the water even though you couldn't swim, and figuring out how to swim type thing. And that's next to come. So I'll leave it short. I got the plant, so there's some livelihood around here, and I love and appreciate you so much. I must have said that a lot. Thank you.